Progressive Field on quite a gloomy evening. But nonetheless, baseball about to take place, an AL Central division matchup between the Chicago White Sox and the Cleveland Indians. The Tribe, let's go Indians. That fan ready to go. Here's Zach Plesac making his 2020 debut. 21 starts last year, 8-6. Pitching record with a 3.81 ERA with the Indians. Facing a loaded White Sox lineup. Tim Anderson, the leadoff hitter.
The shortstop, Tim Anderson.
First pitch from Plesac to Anderson is a ball. It's 1-0.
Ball one, no strike.
The Indians in a 3-game series with the Tigers won 2 games.
First pitch, 6-10.
And the Royals were swept by the White Sox in a 3-game series that those two played to open up the season. Line drive caught.
Batting second, the third baseman.
First out, here's the Chicago White Sox starting lineup. See a couple new additions. Yasmani Grandal in the cleanup spot. Edwin Encarnacion, both of them free agent signings. Nomar Mazara was acquired via a trade with the Rangers this offseason. And then Luis Robert made his MLB debut on opening day. Yohan Moncada takes ball one. It's 1 ball, no strikes now. White Sox, Indians. That pitch fouled off. Count is even, 1 ball and 1 strike. Yohan Moncada to start the season is 3 for 11, has a home run and 2 RBIs.
2 balls, 1 strike, the count.
Two ball, 1 strike pitch coming. And that's called a strike. Counts now even, 2 balls, 2 strikes. The other AL Central game that was covered today on MLB's virtual network was between the Royals and the Tigers, and the Royals won that game 5-0. Full count now on Moncada. Jose Abreu on deck. That misses outside. Zach Plesac gets a line out from Anderson and then walks Moncada.
The first baseman, Jose.
And coming up now, Jose Abreu. So this is game 1 of a 3-game series between these two. We played from now and then through April 1st. Called a strike. Jose Abreu up. Made his debut with the White Sox in 2014. Been their starting first baseman ever since. Last season, batted .284 with 33 home runs and 123 RBIs. Hit in the air and foul. Here's the 0-2. That's hit in the air and foul, so the count's still 0-2. Abreu, in his rookie season in 2014 with the White Sox, hit 36 home runs and drove in 107 runs.
Yep, that ball went out.
He's been a consistent hitter ever since. He's finished with 100-plus RBIs in every season he's played but 2018. And he had 78. And the same could be said for his home run totals. He's hit 30 home runs, 30-plus home runs in every season except 2016 and 2018. But a very consistent hitter. More on the run-producing side is Abreu. Fluctuated in average, but has been around or above 270 for the majority of his career. Strikes out there against Plesac.
Batting 4.
And now there are 2 outs.
Yasmani Grandal.
Now 2 outs here is Yasmani Grandal. Strike 1 on him.
0-1.
Through his first full series with the White Sox, he went 2 for 9 and has yet to produce any runs. Grandal was one of, if not the top catcher in free agency
That's outside.
this past offseason. But with the Padres, the Dodgers, the Brewers, and entering his first year with the White Sox, that pitch misses.
Count.
The White Sox went through some rebuilding phases, but with some of the signings and trades that they made, are aiming to be a contender this year. And have started out the year undefeated in 3 games. 2-2 pitch. Hit in the air left center field. And that ball's going to fall. Moncada rounds third. Coming home, the relay from Lindor is just held. He faked the throw, and that's an RBI double for Yasmani Grandal. His first run batted in and his first double of the season. White Sox lead at 1-0 in the first inning. Just a well-hit ball allowed Moncada to score from first base. And now here is Edwin Encarnacion. Plesac already at 22 pitches. Throwing more pitches in the zone than out of the zone, but has already given up a run. Edwin Encarnacion, former Cincinnati Red, Toronto Blue Jay. Played for the Indians in his career, too. A former Mariner and New York Yankee, now playing for the White Sox. Encarnacion was part of that stellar 2017 Cleveland Indians team that won over 100 games. The Indians missed playoffs, however, last season. That hit to right field. Back on it is Allen. He'll make the catch. And that concludes the top of the first, but Yasmani Grandal. This RBI double put the White Sox up early, 1-0, going into the bottom of the first inning. Here's Gio Gonzalez, making his debut with the White Sox. Signed with them in the offseason. Was one of a few pitchers that was brought on board. Francisco Lindor will lead off.
Leading off
For the Indians, switch hitter batting from the right side.
Francisco Lindor.
Ball, that's off the plate.
Gonzalez, former Washington National, bounced around a couple teams last season, but got a contract now with the White Sox. He bolsters a rotation that brings back young pitcher Lucas Giolito. The White Sox also signed Dallas Keuchel in free agency.
Count is 2-1.
Add that to Alex Colome and Kelvin Herrera in the bullpen, along with some other young arms sprinkled here and there. And with the offensive lineup that these guys have put together, the White Sox are a serious contender for the American League Central now. 2-2 pitch. Count full now, 3-2. But combined with some of the young talent that they have and some veterans that they signed, it's very possible the White Sox could be at the top of the division at the end of the year. The AL Central has been blown wide open. Teams are pretty even here. Played by Abreu. Flips to Gonzalez covering, and Lindor's out.
Batting second.
One out here in the bottom of the first. Starting lineup now for the Indians. And some new additions for these guys as well. Franmil Reyes acquired in a trade with the Padres in the middle of the 18-19 season. Cesar Hernandez, former Philly, signed. Domingo Santana now on the team. The Indians, of course, dealt Corey Kluber to the Rangers, got some prospects and a veteran in Delino DeShields in the outfield.
Ball.
It'll be possible to see him
1 ball, 1 strike.
as a defensive replacement as the season goes on.
Ball, that's out.
This is why Mercado's starting in center field. Switch hitter batting from the right side, but the Indians believe he is the better offensive player to keep in the lineup. Not a bad defender as well, but Delino DeShields has a pretty fine track record as a center fielder in Major League Baseball. Popped up. Catch made by Lurie Garcia. That's out number 2 now.
Batting third. The first base.
But the Indians now have Shane Bieber at the top of the rotation.
Santana.
Zach Plesac getting his, or another season, I should say, now under his belt.
1-0.
The Indians still have a mix, too, of some veterans on the team, as well as some young talent coming up. Carlos Santana on the ground, played by Garcia. He throws to Abreu, but that's not nearly in time. And Carlos Santana finds a way to beat the shift, and he's aboard with a 2-out single.
Ramirez.
And switch hitter Jose Ramirez coming to the plate. Batting from the right side against the lefty Gonzalez. That's hit well to right field. And that'll get foul, strike 1. The White Sox, the Indians, and the Twins, top 3 teams expected to succeed in the AL Central. That pitch misses, counts even, 1 ball and 1 strike.
I got a ball, 1 strike.
Twins made some additions in the offseason as well, especially to their pitching rotation. Got Rich Hill in free agency. Still have Jake Odorizzi and Jose Barrios traded for Kenta Maeda.
Ball 2. 2 balls, 1 strike.
And got a big offensive prize in Josh Donaldson to complement their lineup that's already stacked with home run hitters. Nelson Cruz had a few home runs in the series with the Athletics to start the season. That pitch fouled off, counts 2-2. Gonzalez's pitch, here it is. On the ground and foul, counts to leave in 2-2. So the Twins, the only American League Central team that still hasn't played a division rival. Meanwhile, the other 4 have each played each other now at least once, and that'll be true after this game. Grandal makes the catch. Ramirez pops out. That ends the first inning. Cleveland gets no runs on a hit and leaves 1 runner on base. Through 1 full inning, it's the White Sox 1 and the Indians 0. You're watching Major League Baseball's virtual network, brought to you by MLB The Show 20. I'm Nicholas Callis. Here's Eloy Jimenez. Hit 30 home runs and drove in 79 runs last season. Jimenez was acquired by the White Sox as a prospect when the White Sox dealt Jose Quintana to the Cubs. He made his debut last season, March 28th, 2019. That's ripped to left, base hit. That'll get to the wall, played by Santana. Eloy Jimenez going to try to stretch it. Throw from Santana into Hernandez is a little bit late, the tag late. Extra base hit for Eloy Jimenez
Right fielder, number 30.
to start the second inning.
Mazara.
Last inning, Yohan Moncada walked with one out. Yasmani Grandal later in the inning hit a double to score him. That's how they're in the lead 1-0, and already have a runner in scoring position, nobody out. There's no more Mazara. Acquired from the Texas Rangers in the offseason. Grounded to first. Played by Santana. Meanwhile, Eloy Jimenez moves from second to third on the play. And here's the starting defense now for the Indians. Francisco Lindor, an American League Gold Glove shortstop. And other than Jose Ramirez and Roberto Perez, everybody else in the field is relatively new to the Indians organization. Of course,
Off the plate, ball one.
Carlos Santana been around consistently, but he's never really been a Gold Glove caliber infielder in his career. Everybody else too young to be considered for any awards yet, but still have some promise. 1-0's fouled off. It's Luis Robert. In his first full series with the White Sox, went 3 for 10
That's ball two.
with a home run and an RBI. He scored 3 runs in the series against the Royals. 2-1 pitch. That's inside. Counts 3-1. But he made history because in the offseason, he signed a 7-year, $50 million extension with the White Sox.
Ball four.
And he hadn't previously played a major league game with them. Of course, playing now, but signed the deal, and he hadn't even made the major league roster yet. But he's gotten off to a quality start in his major league career. Made his MLB debut on opening day. He walks on first, and now here's Leury Garcia. That pitch is called a strike, 0-1. Garcia, switch hitter, batting from the left side, and with the crowded outfield now, he's forced to move to the infield, and he's started all 3 games this season, prior to this start as well, so actually 4 games, at second base. In the series against the Royals, he sliding catch made by Greg Allen. He's going to throw it in. Well, look at that throw even. Eloy Jimenez tags and scores from third. That's an RBI for Leury Garcia, and the White Sox have struck in the first 2 innings of this game. 2-0 White Sox over the Indians. But Garcia went 3 for 11 against the Royals and drove in 3 runs. But with that thought finished, here's Tim Anderson back at the top of the order for the White Sox. Robert on first base, and that pitch fouled off, strike 1. Anderson 0 for 1, lined out to Cesar Hernandez in his first at bat. Batting here for the second time in as many innings. Terry Francona, longtime manager of the Boston Red Sox, now giving his services to the Cleveland Indians, took these Indians to the World Series in 2016.
That ball's foul.
And the Indians won the AL Central in 2016, 17, and 18. Failed to make playoffs in 19. 0-2. Got him swinging. That ends this half inning. White Sox get another run thanks to Leury Garcia's sacrifice fly, moving to the bottom of the second. It's Chicago 2 and Cleveland 0.
Leading off for the Indians.
Franmil Reyes coming to the plate.
Designated hitter.
Those are his 2019 stats from both his time with the Padres and the Indians. He was traded in the middle of last season. The Padres, for the longest time,
0-1.
had been known for having a crowded outfield in terms of depth. Reyes was one of those players crowding up the outfield. But the rumors finally
1-1.
came true because Reyes was traded in the middle of last season, and Hunter Renfroe just got traded in the offseason of this last. Into center field, Franmil Reyes leads off the bottom of the second with a single.
Batting sixth, the second baseman, Cesar Hernandez.
Simply put, that ball was squared up. And here's Cesar Hernandez. Former Philadelphia Phillies signed a deal this offseason. Hernandez essentially replacing Jason Kipnis, who had parted ways with the Indians after becoming a free agent. Hernandez switch hitter batting from the right side. But Hernandez, very consistent hitting second baseman, decent fielder as well. 1-1 count on him now, but made his debut with the Philadelphia Phillies in 2013. Was an international signing with the Phillies out of Venezuela. He played for the Phillies from 2013 to 2019. With them batted .277 with 46 home runs and drove in 253 runs. So the Indians not missing a beat at the second base position. Grounded to third and bobbled at third base by Moncada. He'll throw to Abreu anyway, but Cesar Hernandez with his speed beats that out easily. And the score's decision's a base hit. So Cesar Hernandez aboard at first. Advancing to second on the play for the Indians is Franmil Reyes. And now is Domingo Santana. Runners at first and second, nobody out. And I know it's still early in this game, but Santana's the go-ahead run. First pitch to him from Gonzalez is a swing and a miss. Domingo Santana, 27 years of age. Former outfielder with the Houston Astros, the Milwaukee Brewers, and the Seattle Mariners. This is his first season with Cleveland. Strike two. Santana became a free agent for the first time in his career this past offseason and signed a deal with the Indians on February 14th, 2020. And swings and misses at that pitch. Key strikeout there for Gio Gonzalez, his first of the game. And there's one out here in the bottom of the second. That'll bring up Roberto Perez. 31 years old. And batting here in the bottom of the second, two runners on. Franmil Reyes singled, and so did Cesar Hernandez. Reyes on second, Hernandez on first. That pitch misses, counts 2-0. White Sox scored in the first inning on a Yasmani Grandal double. Larry Garcia hit a sacrifice fly in the second inning. White Sox lead 2-0. But in trouble here in the bottom of the second. 2-1's the count on Perez. The Indians 2-1 on the season. Second place in the AL Central. White Sox undefeated to this point. Beat the Royals in all three games of the series to start the season. Counts now even, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Roberto Perez, long time Cleveland Indian. It's that pitch, foul. Well, still 2-2. He was a 33rd round draft pick of the Indians in 2008 and made his debut in 2014. Didn't become a regular starter, though, until 2019 because prior to that season, he was playing behind Yan Gomes. However, Gomes was injured in 2016, and he was the catcher throughout all of playoffs for the Indians.
3-2.
That year in 2016, he batted .183 with 3 home runs and 17 RBIs. That was during the regular season. Only in 61 games. 3-2 pitch.
Ball 4. That's
And he lost him. That's ball 4. Single by Franmil Reyes. He's now on third. A single by Cesar Hernandez, who's now on second. And a walk to Roberto Perez. Has loaded the bases for the Indians. And here's Greg Allen. Switch hitter batting from the right side. White Sox in a tough spot. Gonzalez throws ball 1. Greg Allen in the previous series only got, he went 4 for 11, and gets that one through for a base hit. Reyes scores from third, and the Indians elect to play station to station with 1 out. An RBI single for Greg Allen. Indians on the board in the bottom of the second. It's 2-1. But Greg Allen went 4 for 11 with an RBI in the series against the Tigers. Now has 2 RBIs on the season after that base hit. Here's Francisco Lindor. Rounded out in the first inning, getting to bat for the second time in 2 innings. Faces Gonzalez for the second time in this game. 0-1 pitch. That misses. Counts even. 1 ball and a strike. Lindor has been a lifetime Cleveland Indian. Some rumors he was going to get traded in the offseason, and that didn't happen. Pass to leaping Abreu, base hit now bobbled by Mazzara in right field. 2 runs are going to score. Cesar Hernandez scores from second. Hernandez scores from third. Roberto Perez scores from second. Greg Allen moves to third from first base on the play. That's an RBI double for Francisco Lindor. And the Indians now lead 3-2. Still 1 out here in the bottom of the second. And Oscar Mercado stands in. That's ball 1 to him. Switch hitter batting from the right side. There are several switch hitters on this Indians team. 5 to be exact. And the rest of the starters are right-handed hitters, so Gonzalez
2-0.
does not have a favorable handed matchup. White Sox scored a run in each of the first 2 innings. The Indians have gotten all 3 of their runs in this half inning. 2-0. Chopped on the ground and foul. Counts 2-1. Gonzalez was smooth sailing in that first inning, but really finds himself in trouble in the second inning. About to throw pitch number 47. And that's on the ground. Played well by Moncada. Throws to Abreu. Mercado's out at first. And now there are 2 outs here in the bottom of the second inning.
The first baseman, Carlos.
Still a couple runners in scoring position, and here's Carlos Santana. This guy never really performed well out of an Indians uniform. Had a brief stint with the Philadelphia Phillies. And in his time with the Phillies, he batted .229 with 24 home runs and 86 RBIs.
Look out, 21.
Made the All-Star team with the Indians last year after batting .281 with 34 home runs and 93 RBIs. One pitch. Fan favorite for certain, though. Grounded to Garcia, throws to Abreu. Santana's out at first. And that ends the bottom of the second inning. But a single and a double net the Indians 3 runs. They lead it now after 2 innings against their division rival White Sox. You're watching Major League Baseball's virtual network, brought to you by MLB The Show 20. I'm Nicholas Callis. Yohan Moncada coming up to bat. It's Moncada, then Jose Abreu, and Yasmani Grandal all due up. And Moncada hits that pitch in play. Santana takes it to the bag himself. 1 pitch, 1 out, begins the 3rd inning.
Now back, the first baseman, Jose.
This is game 1 of a 3-game series. Part of an AL Central Division matchup. The White Sox swept the Royals in their first series played of 2020, and the Indians won 2 of 3 against the Tigers. Zach Plesac pitching now in his 3rd inning. Now with a lead. That pitch hit into right field. Going back on it is Allen to the wall. That's a home run. Well, the offenses are flexing their muscles. Solo homer for Jose Abreu, his 2nd of the season. And this game's tied at 3. First home run of the game for either side. Well extended arms there by Abreu, and hits it the other way. Here's Yasmani Grandal. An RBI double back in the 1st inning. So Grandal doubled in the 1st. Made it 1-0. Leury Garcia hit a sacrifice fly in the 2nd. That made it 2-0. The Indians scored 3 runs in the bottom of the 2nd thanks to a Greg Allen single with the bases loaded, and then a Francisco Lindor double with the bases loaded. That made it 3-2. Jose Abreu just hit a home run, so now we're tied at 3. And I have an inkling the offenses aren't quite done yet. 0-2 pitch. On the ground and foul. The infield shifting Grandal to pull the ball. So the left side's vacant, and there's a stacked infield toward the right side. He strikes out anyway, doesn't put it in play. Zach Plesac down with 3 strikeouts. And now there are 2 outs here in the 3rd inning. Edwin Encarnacion comes up to the plate, top of the 3rd inning. 2 outs, bases empty, 1 run in for the White Sox. And that's a strike, counts 0-1. Encarnacion played a full year with the Indians back in 2017. Was signed by the Reds out of the Dominican Republic. Strikes out there against Zach Plesac. Plesac has now struck out 4, and that one ends the top of the 3rd. But here's Jose Abreu. Solo home run knocks the game back up at 3. Going to the bottom of the 3rd. You're watching Major League Baseball's virtual network. Brought to you by MLB The Show 20. I'm Nicholas Callis. White Sox, Indians tied at 3 going to the bottom of the 3rd. Offenses have already made their presence felt. Some extra base hits, including a home run by Jose Abreu. A sac fly and a single have all been seen so far, not even out of the 3rd inning yet. And Jose Ramirez takes ball 1. Ramirez, a switch hitter, batting from the right side of the plate. 4, 5, 6 due up for the Indians. Jose Ramirez, Franmil Reyes, and Cesar Hernandez all scheduled to bat. Counts even, 1 ball and 1 strike. Jose Ramirez has played almost every infield position for the Indians before. Came up and was a consistent shortstop, and was a consistent third baseman in 2016. Played there. Also has the ability to play shortstop. Plays second base when the Indians needed him to from time to time. Grounds out there. And that's 1 out.
The designated hitter, Franmil Reyes.
And here comes the designated hitter, Franmil Reyes. Reyes, 24 years old. And despite that age, 37 home runs a season ago. Hit with both the Padres and the Indians. Came to the Indians in the middle of last season at the trade deadline. And there were a lot of moving pieces in this deal. It was a 3-team deal with the Reds, the Indians, and the Padres. But some big names in that trade. That was the trade that sent Trevor Bauer to the Reds. The Indians got Yasiel Puig and Franmil Reyes, and then a couple prospects were swapped here and there amongst the teams.
The batter, number 7.
But Reyes flies out to center. They're played by Robert. That's the second out now. The bottom of the third inning, and here is Cesar Hernandez. He singled in the second and later came around to score.
That's a ball.
Gio Gonzalez working up to 60 pitches now.
1-0.
And not out of the third yet.
Ball,
They can't find the zone either. Counts 2-0. Gio Gonzalez in his regular season debut with the White Sox. Counts 3-0 on Hernandez. Domingo Santana's on deck. And Gonzalez gets on the board with a strike. Now 3-1's the count. Gonzalez gave up all 3 runs in the bottom of the second inning. Credited to the Indians being disciplined while also stringing together a couple of singles and a 2-run RBI double by Francisco Lindor. Hernandez walks with 2 outs. Here's Domingo Santana, struck out last inning against Gonzalez. And he takes ball 1. Batting here with 2 outs and a runner on base. Santana, in the series against the Tigers, went 2 for 11. And he hit a home run, got 2 RBIs. And is a dangerous runner at first base. And Santana heading the count now 2-0. Last season with the Phillies, Hernandez stole 9 bases. Has 80 in his career that started in 2013. 2-0 coming.
Nope.
That's inside, count 3-0 now. Hernandez wasn't a regular starter with the Phillies until Chase Utley was traded from the Phillies to the Dodgers in 2015. And then became a starter with them and became a hot commodity in free agency and drew the interest of the Indians. Santana walks and timeout called now. With his pitch count, Gio Gonzalez, assuming he has 2 efficient innings in him, probably won't make it past the 5th inning. And that's if he continues, if he has better efficiency in the 4th and 5th. But here's Roberto Perez. 2 outs, runners at first and second. First pitch. That's foul. Counts 0-1. Perez walked his first time around. And he did score. And last inning's 3-run effort. That pitch misses outside. Count is 1-1. Perez last season, .239 hitter with 24 home runs and 63 RBIs. In the previous series against the Tigers, he went 1 for 10 with 2 RBIs. Gets ahead in the count now against Gonzalez. 2 balls and a strike. The White Sox have scored in all 3 innings. Scored one run in each of the first 3 innings. The Indians scored all their runs to this point last inning, but are in a position to score in this inning as well. That pitch fouled off, count even, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Here comes the 2-2. Got him swinging. Gonzalez works out of the jam in the third and keeps the Indians scoreless in that inning. Through 3 full innings of this AL Central Division matchup, it's the White Sox 3 and the Indians 3 going to the 4th. You're watching Major League Baseball's virtual network, brought to you by MLB The Show 20. I'm Nicholas Callis. Top of the 4th inning rolling around. The White Sox have a 3-inning streak where they've scored a run. And we'll have 6, 7, 8 hitters due up to begin
The left fielder, number 74.
the top of the 4th. Eloy Jimenez, Nomar Mazara, and Luis Robert all scheduled to bat. Jimenez 1 for 1 against Zach Plesac. And he grounds that up the middle. Base hit. That gets through. Mercado gets it in quickly, but a 1-pitch leadoff single for Eloy Jimenez.
The right fielder,
And the White Sox start the 4th inning in good shape. White Sox scored in the first inning on a Yasmani Grandal RBI double. Scored in the second on a Lurie Garcia sacrifice fly. And scored in the third on a Jose Abreu solo home run. The Indians scored all 3 of their runs in the second inning thanks to a Greg Allen RBI single and a Francisco Lindor RBI double. The Indians strung together some walks and hits and were able to put Gio Gonzalez in a tough bases loaded, less than 2-out situation. And they capitalized on it. 1-2 now on Nomar Mazara. The piece that bolsters the White Sox outfield as he fouls that pitch off. Former Texas Ranger. 1-2 pitch. That swung on and missed. That's out number 1. And Zach Plesac down with 5 strikeouts.
now batting.
Despite the fact that he's given up 3 runs.
Robert.
He struck out 5 in 3 1/3 innings pitched now. Here's Luis Robert. Hot start to his Major League Baseball career, batting .300. Entering play, walked in the second. So no official at bat tonight. But batting with Eloy Jimenez on first base. Jimenez singled to begin this inning. Here's the 0-1. The umpire said he went around. And the count's 0-2. That misses low, counts 1 ball and 2 strikes. Luis Roberts, another new addition to this White Sox outfield, although he's in his rookie season. Made his debut on opening day. Hits that pitch to left field. That's foul. He hit his first Major League home run against the Royals. And already 3 for 10 to start his career. That hit to right field and well. Back goes Allen. He makes the catch. Very athletic play out in right field for Greg Allen. Didn't let that ball get too far over his head and prevents Luis Robert from getting a hit. And that's out number 2, but still a runner on first, and here is Leury Garcia. No official at bat. Has driven in a run on a sacrifice fly back in the second inning. And drops that on the ground to the right side. Played by Santana over to Plesac covering first. That ends the inning, and the White Sox streak of at least 1 run per inning is broken in that 4th inning. No runs on a hit. 1 runner left on. Going to the bottom of the 4th. Chicago and Cleveland tied at 3. Here's Greg Allen.
Leading off for the Indians.
Allen singled and drove in the first run for the Indians in that 3-run effort they had back in the second. Swings at the first pitch, hits it out to center field. There's Roberts under it, and he makes the catch. 1 pitch, 1 out. Starts the bottom of the 4th inning.
Now batting. Not shortstop.
And that'll bring the top of the order back up for the Indians now. Francisco Lindor coming to bat. Switch hitter batting from the right side of the plate. Nobody on base, 1 out. Gonzalez pitching in his debut with the White Sox, just signing a deal this past offseason. And with Gonzalez working up to 80 pitches already. Carson Fulmer in the White Sox bullpen. Counts even at 1. Indians 2-1 to start the year. White Sox 3-0. Had an early lead, but the Indians clawed back. And early offense has dominated this game to this point. About off count 1 and 2. Dallas has thrown a lot of pitches, but what he's got going for him is that he's thrown more pitches in the zone than out, which is important. The Indians have been putting the ball in play. Gonzalez doesn't have too many walks on his line scores, just giving up little singles, and then really got burned on the Francisco Lindor double, and now Lindor's 2 for 2 with that 1-out single in the bottom of the 4th.
Up next for Cleveland, the center fielder, Oscar.
And the heart of the order now coming up for the Indians. Oscar Mercado batting 0 for 2. Switch hitter batting from the right side. That pitch called a strike, 0-1. Popped out and grounded out to start his day against Gonzalez. And quickly down on the count, no balls and 2 strikes. Had a .269 last season with 15 home runs and 54 RBIs. And it's that pitch high into the air. Luis Roberts got it, 2 outs. Mercado made his debut with the Indians last season, but commits the second out of this bottom of the 4th inning, and now Carlos Santana comes to the plate. Singled in the first inning. Now 1 for 2 against Gonzalez. 82nd pitch coming, and it's on the ground right side. Garcia elects to go to Anderson at second, gets the out anyhow, and that ends the 4th inning. No runs on a hit that inning for the Indians, and 1 runner left on base. Through 4 full innings, Chicago and Cleveland still tied at 3.
Leading off for the White Sox.
Here comes Tim Anderson.
Tim Anderson.
Top of the order due up for the White Sox. Tim Anderson, Yohan Moncada, and Jose Abreu. First pitch hit in the air. Played by Greg Allen. That's out number 1.
Now batting, the third baseman, Yohan.
Zach Plesac still throwing efficiently despite giving up 3 runs. He's got 5 strikeouts at this point in the game, and is just now about to throw his 65th pitch. Yohan Moncada for 1, takes ball 1 there. Counts 1-0. Yohan Moncada, an infielder by trade, can also play second base, but found it more comfortable to play third.
1 ball, 2 strikes.
And with being a consistent third baseman, he also had a breakout offensive season last year. Hits that right into the shift. Played by Hernandez, who throws to Santana. And Moncada's out at first. That's the second out. Now look at that. Look at those splits. Of the 68 pitches that Zach Plesac has thrown, 52 of them have been for strikes. That's really impressive. Here's Jose Abreu.
Counts 1-0.
1 for 2 against Plesac. He homered his last at bat. That tied the game at 3. That was back in the 3rd inning. Neither team scored in the 4th. There are 2 outs here in the top of the 5th. And that's ripped but foul down the left field side. Counts even 1-1. Jose Abreu, a consistent run producer with the White Sox.
Nope.
Consistent 100-plus RBI tallies. Consistent 30-plus home run hitter.
3 balls, 1 strike.
Also tied a record in his rookie year for the most home runs by a rookie in the month of April. He had 10 home runs in the month of April in his rookie season in 2014. Pops that pitch up. Ramirez running all the way over there by the dugout to make the catch. And that'll end the top of the 5th. No runs on no hits and nobody left on for the White Sox. Going to the bottom of the 5th, it's the White Sox 3 and the Indians 3. You're watching Major League Baseball's virtual network, brought to you by MLB The Show 20. I'm Nicholas Callis. This is the place you can find baseball. When you think there's no baseball, you're wrong. It's right here. Opening day was never delayed. The season's been going on ever since Thursday, March the 26th. So if you're not playing pretend like me, start playing pretend. This is the place you can find all baseball. 2 games a day, every day. Scoring recaps for every team, every night. Highlights posted within a day of games being played. You can cover baseball on the Twitter page at VirtualMLB. And you can also subscribe to the YouTube channel at, but MLB Virtual Network. That's the YouTube channel. Gio Gonzalez strikes out Jose Ramirez to begin the inning. That's his 3rd strikeout now of the game.
Now batting.
Gonzalez is not Ramirez. That's the first out, and a well-placed breaking ball right over the heart of the plate. And froze Ramirez because it started over the outside. Now here's Franmil Reyes. 1 for 2, singled in his most recent at-bat. That was that first pitch off at strike 1. Gonzalez getting ready to throw the 0-1. Swing and a miss, counts 0-2.
Count 0-2.
This is the place you can go to find baseball while the coronavirus is impacting all of our lives. You can go to Twitter for all news and posts at Virtual MLB's the Twitter page, and then MLB Virtual Network is the name of the YouTube channel.
I got to count 1 and 2.
Counts 1 and 2 on Franmil Reyes, 1 out, bottom of the 5th. White Sox scored a run in each of the first 3 innings. But a Yasmani Grandal RBI double. Lurie Garcia hit a sacrifice fly in the 2nd. Jose Abreu hit a solo home run in the third. As for the Indians, all 3 runs they've put on the board were in the second inning. Walks and hits were strung together, and those were followed by Greg Allen getting an RBI single in the 9th spot, and then Francisco Lindor following that with an RBI double.
The batter, number 7.
Both those hits with the bases loaded.
Hernandez.
Franmil Reyes strikes out there. That's the second out of the bottom of the 5th, and here comes Cesar Hernandez, number 6 hitter. 1 for 1 has walked and singled. Batting now for the 3rd time against Gio Gonzalez. AL Central Division game.
1 ball, 1 strike.
Tightly contested. Coming to the conclusion of the 5th. One pitch. Swing and a miss, counts 1 and 2.
1 ball, 2 strikes to count.
That misses, counts even, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Cesar Hernandez, a switch hitter, batting from the right side of the plate. White Sox have yet to lose a game in 2020, won 3 straight. The Indians 2-1. Popped up, Abreu will make the catch. The 5th inning has concluded. No runs on, no hits, and nobody left on for the Indians. Going to inning 6. It's Chicago 3 and Cleveland 3. Zach Plesac still on the mound, but a couple pitchers warming up in the bullpen for Cleveland: Adam Clymer and Oliver Perez. White Sox have 4, 5, 6 due up: Yasmani Grandal, Edwin Encarnacion, and Eloy Jimenez. Strike 1 on Yasmani Grandal. He hit an RBI double and struck out in 2 at-bats against Plesac. There's the 0-1. On the ground right side, right into the shift. Bobbled there for a second by Santana. Recovers. Flips. And a good play. Flips to Plesac, and that's the first out here in the top of the 6th. Plesac still throwing with excellent efficiency. Here's Edwin Encarnacion. So the infield now goes from a heavy right side to now a heavy left side. Edwin Encarnacion being shifted on the infield. Anticipating him to pull the ball, and he hits it against this shift into right field. Allen back, can't make the play. Hits the ground, goes over the wall, and that's a double for Edwin Encarnacion. Ray Allen with a good effort, just not under it to react in enough time. And the go-ahead run in scoring position now. 1 out. Here's Eloy Jimenez. 2 hits and 2 trips. Takes ball 1. Jimenez entering play was 6 for 13. Is now 8 for 15 after the 2 hits and the 2 at-bats he's had tonight. 1-1 pitch. Up high, 2-1's the count. Jimenez, once in the Cubs organization, was traded in the Jose Quintana deal and made his debut in the majors with the White Sox. Was an international signing out of the Dominican Republic. Here's the 2-2 pitch. That misses inside, and the count run full. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Nomar Mazara is on deck. Zach Plesac has now exceeded 80 pitches in his start. 3-2 pitch. Chased it, but is able to foul it off. Count remains full, 3 balls and 2 strikes. A pivotal moment in this game. Edwin Encarnacion doubled with 1 out. He's in scoring position. Grounded to third. Off of Jose Ramirez. Gets into left field. Encarnacion advances from second to third. And on board at first base with an undecided way of getting there is Eloy Jimenez. Terry Francona coming out of the dugout now. Zach Plesac. His start's over. He's still responsible for the 2 runs on base, or the 2 runners on base. And the book not officially closed on him. He's still responsible for Encarnacion and Jimenez.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention,
Adam
please.
Clymer, Hunter Wood.
Now pitching for
Didn't see him warming up in the bullpen, but Hunter Wood comes out of the bullpen for the Indians, making his first appearance of 2020. But as of right now, Zach Plesac has a no decision, but might get a decision because of the runners on base. Omar Mazzara 0 for 2, struck out and grounded out in this one. So the book for Hunter Wood begins with Mazzara. Zach Plesac's line score is pending. Count 0-2. On Mazzara, signed with the White Sox in free agency. Prior to that, he played 4 seasons with the Texas Rangers. Made his Major League debut on April 10th, 2016, and was a part of the Rangers team that won the AL West. On the ground up the middle, played by Hernandez to Lindor for 1. Back to Santana. That's a double play. Hunter Wood gets the Indians out of trouble in the top of the 6th. This game remains tied at 3, going to the bottom half. And like Plesac, Gio Gonzalez is now done as well. Both starters out of the game, with Carson Fulmer coming in to pitch for the first time this season.
leading off for the Indians, the left
And
fielder,
he'll face 7, 8, 9 hitters.
Santana.
Begin this half inning, Domingo Santana, Roberto Perez, and Greg Allen all scheduled to bat. First pitch. That's a strike. It's 0-1.
0-1's the count.
So Zach Plesac made it 5 1/3 innings. Gio Gonzalez pulled before the 6th inning. So Gonzalez goes 5 full innings, gives up 3 earned runs.
I got the count.
Gio
0-2.
Gonzalez, 5 full innings, 3 earned runs. Again, Plesac, 5 1/3 innings, pitched 3 earned runs given up. Carson Fulmer throws the ball, counts 1-2. You're watching Major League Baseball's virtual network, brought to you by MLB The Show 20. I'm Nicholas Callis. For more news on this league, you can follow the Twitter page at Virtual MLB and subscribe to the YouTube channel MLB Virtual Network.
2 balls, 2 strikes.
2 games a day, every day during the season, pretending like opening day never ceased or was postponed. So this is your place you can pretend baseball exists in until real baseball resumes, but
3-2.
just keeping this league going while the coronavirus is impacting all of our lives. 3-2 pitch coming from Carson Fulmer. Chased it, but got a piece of the bat on it and stays alive in the at-bat. Carson Fulmer is 26 years old. At a 6.26 ERA in 2019. Was a first-round draft pick of the White Sox in 2015. It was 8th overall. And made his debut a year later on July 17th, 2016. He struggled the last couple years, especially in terms of earned run average. Out to center field, there's Luis Robert. He makes the catch. That's out number 1. Fulmer was experimented with last season as a starter.
The catcher, number 55. Roberto.
Started a couple games in 20 overall appearances. Has 15 career starts, so he's more of a spot starter, but still hasn't performed well enough to join the rotation yet. And especially with the acquisitions of Gio Gonzalez and
No ball, 2 strikes.
Dallas Keuchel, unlikely he'll be in the rotation consistently in 2020. Tim Anderson at short. Goes to Jose Abreu. Roberto Perez out, and that's the second out.
The right fielder, number 1.
The Indians half of the offensive half of the 6th. The White Sox scored all 3 of their runs in the first 3 innings. In the first, Yasmani Grandal hit an RBI double. In the second, Leury Garcia got a sacrifice fly. And in the third, Jose Abreu hit a solo home run. The Indians scored all 3 of their runs in the bottom of the second inning, thanks to Greg Allen here getting an RBI single with the bases loaded, and then Francisco Lindor following that at bat with an RBI double that scored 2. Now 2 outs, bases empty here in the bottom of the 6th. Fulmer knocks it down, plays it, throws to Abreu, not in time. Abreu was pulled off the bag. Greg Allen reaches with his second hit of the evening and keeps the bottom of the 6th alive. Francisco Lindor comes up to the plate. Singled in his most recent at bat. Of course, you see the RBI double he hit back in the second on his line score. Batting from the left side of the plate for the first time in this game, facing the righty Fulmer. 1-0 pitch. Runner goes from first. That's high. Allen slides into second, and Grandal can't nearly get the throw off in time. And look at that jump. Well timed. Not a close play. And with that, Carson Fulmer, with the aid of the White Sox, instructing for the intentional walk. Requesting and receiving the intentional walk. So that sets up the force at any base, but now 2 runners on. Go-ahead run in scoring position. Oscar Mercado comes to the plate. He is 0 for 3. Blew out in the 4th inning. Swing and a miss, strike 1. Mercado was a 2nd-round draft pick in 2013. Didn't start regularly playing with the Indians until last season. That misses inside. Counts even. 1 ball and 1 strike. Allen on second. He singled, stole a base. Lindor on first. He was intentionally walked. And now Mercado ahead in the count against Fulmer. 2 balls and a strike. Outside, 3-1's the count. That drums the RBI drum that's played out in left field when the runner's in scoring position for the Indians. That's hugging the line, but touched in foul territory. The count run full 3-2. Fulmer pitching in his first inning, coming out of the bullpen in place of Lucas Giolito. That hit into right center field. Robert calls off Mazzara and makes the catch. The White Sox escape danger toward the end of the 6th inning. And after 6 full innings, the White Sox and Indians still tied at 3.
Leading off for the White Sox,
Here's Luis Robert.
the center fielder, Luis.
8-9-1 due up to hit for the White Sox. Luis Robert, Leury Garcia, and then back to the top for Tim Anderson. Hunter Wood, pitching in his second inning now, came in last inning to relieve starter Zach Plesac. Here comes the 1-1 pitch. That's outside, counts 2-1. It starts out this seventh inning. Hasn't given up a run yet. Popped into the air. Greg Allen makes the catch. 1 out. But both starters
The second baseman, Leori Garcia.
couldn't make it past the sixth inning. Zach Plesac went 5 1/3 innings, gave up all 3 earned runs to this point, and Gio Gonzalez pitched 5 innings for the White Sox, also giving up 3 earned runs. Plesac got into some trouble in the sixth inning, so he was replaced with 1 out by Hunter Wood, and Wood escaped a first and third situation with less than 2 outs and kept this game right where it is. 1-1 pitch. Strike 2. Leori Garcia, a switch hitter, batting from the left side of the plate. 1-2 pitch from Hunter Wood. That's high. Counts even at 2.
2-2.
Full 3 balls and 2 strikes. Caught out there by Francisco Lindor.
The batter, number 7.
Yeah, that's the look of
Tim
being
Anderson.
stunned. This true baseball is such an unfair sport. Hard hit balls sometimes result in outs, and mistake swings or softly hit balls result in hits sometimes. The unpredictable nature of baseball. 1-0 pitch to Anderson.
That's ball 2.
Tim Anderson 0 for 3 from the top of this White Sox order. 2-0 coming from Wood. His own counts 2-1.
2 balls.
Anderson, more or less a breakout year last year. Batted .335 with 18 home runs and 56 RBIs. And that drops in front of Santana, base hit. So Anderson reaches with his first hit
Now
of the game, and he extends the 7th inning.
Yoan
2 outs, top of the 7th. Yoan Moncada steps up to the plate. Runner goes. Strike called. Throw from Perez to Lindor. In time. Tim Anderson cut down, attempting to steal second, and that caught stealing ends the top of the 7th. 7th inning stretch time here at Progressive Field. It's 3-3. White Sox and Indians tie. You're watching Major League Baseball's virtual network, brought to you by MLB The Show 20. I'm Nicholas Callis. Bottom of the 7th, rolling around. Carlos Santana will lead off for the Indians against Carson Fulmer. His second inning since coming out of the pen. Pitched a scoreless 6th inning. Now here in the 7th. 3, 4, 5 hitters due up for the Indians. Carlos Santana, Jose Ramirez, and Franmil Reyes. On the ground, into the teeth of the shift. Anderson throws to Abreu. Santana's out. And that's how the bottom of the 7th begins.
Up next for Cleveland, the third baseman,
Jose Ramirez
Ramirez.
coming to the plate now for the Indians. 0 for 3, struck out in his most recent at-bat. Jose Ramirez went 2 for 10 in the series against the Tigers. Hits that against the shift, but it's foul. Counts 0-1. Ramirez now 2 for 13 in the 2020 season. Has yet to hit any home runs or drive in any runs. 1-1 pitch to the third baseman of the Indians. That's hit towards center field, and that'll fall in for a base hit. Jimenez gets it in quickly, and that's a one-out single for Jose Ramirez.
The designated hitter,
Check that out. He kind of got jammed, but still got a good piece of the bat on the ball. Franmil Reyes comes up to the plate, 1 for 3. Runner goes. Thrown out from Grandal. Tag by Garcia is late. And Jose Ramirez steals his first base of the season. He's in scoring position as the go-ahead run. In the bottom of the 7th, 1 out. Reyes, high fly ball. In the right field, Mazzara under it. Catch made. Ramirez tags and holds at second. Mazzara with a plus arm out in right field.
The batter, number 7.
2 outs, bottom of the 7th. Jose Ramirez singled, stole second base. He's in scoring position at second. 2 outs. Here's Cesar Hernandez. And that finds the zone, 0-1. Hernandez, switch hitter, batting from the left side for the first time in this game against the righty Fulmer. And the count's even, 1 ball and 1 strike. Hit one to left field, toward the line. Drops foul. And now Fulmer ahead in the count. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Here's the pitch. Top to Fulmer. Goes to Abreu, and that'll end the 7th inning. Indians, despite getting a hit and getting that runner into scoring position, failed to score in the 7th. Moving on to the 8th, it's the White Sox 3 and the Indians 3. You're watching Major League Baseball's virtual network, brought to you by MLB The Show 20. I'm Nicholas Callis. Here's the top of the 8th inning, and the near top of the order for the White Sox scheduled to bat this half inning. Yohan Moncada, Jose Abreu, and Yasmani Grandal all scheduled to bat. First pitch is called a strike. At the top of the zone, it's 0-1. Moncada 0 for 2. Hunter Wood now pitching in the 3rd inning. He came in the middle of the 6th to replace Zach Plesac, pitched the complete 7th inning, and now we're seeing him here in the 8th. Hasn't given up a run. Runs scored by both teams were in the first third of the game, and neither team has scored since. The White Sox haven't scored since the 3rd inning. The Indians haven't scored since the 2nd. And the White Sox got all 3 of their runs in each of the first 3 innings. Grandal hit an RBI double in the 1st. Leury Garcia hit a sac fly in the 2nd. Jose Abreu solo home run in the 3rd. And that ball ripped to right field. Back goes Allen, and he runs out of room. That's a home run for Yohan Moncada. His 2nd home run of the season. And the White Sox have taken a 4-3 lead. First score of the game since the 3rd inning. And Hunter Wood now in line for the loss. Game's still not out of reach yet. But a late lead for the White Sox. Hunter Wood's done. Here's Adam Clymer.
Number 90, Adam Simber.
Adam Simber, pardon my French. Not my French, but my mispronunciation. Adam Simber has already come in this season, appeared in 1 game out of the 3-game series with the Tigers.
Abreu.
So the book officially closed on Hunter Wood. Pitches 1 2/3 innings. And gives up 1 earned run. One 0 pitch. That's inside, but a strike. Counts even at 1. The Indians scored all 3 of their runs in the bottom of the second inning. Abreu pops that pitch up. Jose Ramirez makes the catch. That's the first out of the 8th inning.
Now batting, catcher, Yasmani
The White Sox
Grandal.
won all 3 of their first games to start 2020. Cleveland took 2 of 3 from the Tigers. White Sox the top team in the AL Central to this point. And now in a position to extend their winning streak to 4 games.
Count 1-0.
1 ball, no strike count. Yasmani Grandal 1 for 3. His last hit was in the first inning when he hit an RBI double. Gave the White Sox an early lead. White Sox only gave up the lead once, and it was in that second inning, but immediately in the next half inning, top of the 3rd, that's when Jose Abreu
No strike.
tied the game with a solo home run. And it was tied from the 3rd inning up until this inning before Yohan Moncada hit the solo home run to lead off the offensive half of the 8th for the White Sox. 2-1 now on Grandal. But a well-played ball game amongst both teams. Bullpens have been pretty solid. The starters made some mistakes early but rebounded and kept this game in reach for each of their respective teams. 2-2 count on Yasmani Grandal. First year of a new contract he signed this offseason. Here comes the 2-2. On the ground against the shift. Played by Ramirez, the third baseman. Throws over to Santana. So Hunter Wood gave up the leadoff home run. Was replaced by Adam Simber, who proceeded to get Jose Abreu to pop out and just got Yasmani Grandal to ground out. And now with 2 outs, here's Edwin Encarnacion. The infield shifting him, anticipating him to pull the ball.
Inside
Takes
ball
ball 1 inside. Encarnacion is notorious for hitting the long ball and joins the White Sox team now that also has some players on the team who are known for that. Jose Abreu being one. Grandal, newly signed, now another. White Sox have a formula for success this season.
I got the count 1-2.
One of the big winners, so to speak, of the 2019-2020 off season. Misses in the dirt. Does Simber with that pitch. And the count now even. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Encarnacion demonstrating some discipline. Works the count full. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Eloy Jimenez on deck. Would bat if Encarnacion can reach. Fouls that pitch off. Full count pitch coming again. Up the middle, but the shift robs him of a hit. Go from Hernandez to Santana. Is in time, but Yohan Moncada. Solo home run that led off the 8th gives the White Sox a 4-3 lead going to the bottom of the 8th inning.
Your attention, please. Now,
Steve Cishek
number 31.
coming in now to pitch. Former Florida Marlin. Miami Marlin as well, let's say. Also pitched for the Chicago Cubs in his career.
Indians, the left fielder, Domingo.
Now pitching for the White Sox. There's a team I'm thinking of, too, that he pitched for. I just can't put my finger on it. Well, I'll come up with it. Here's Domingo Santana. That's ball 1. Santana 0 for 2 in this game. Cishek pitched the St. Louis Cardinals, the Seattle Mariners, and the Tampa Bay Rays. Played consistently with the Cubs in 2018 and 19, and now on Chicago's American League team with the White Sox. Santana aboard with a leadoff single. Hits it through the shift and gets his first hit of the evening. He's the tying run on base. And actually not on base anymore. Delino DeShields will come off the bench and pinch run. And that'll help the Indians' defense as well. Going into the later part of this game. Here's Roberto Perez. Fly ball into right field. Back to the wall. That leaves the yard. Roberto Perez with a 2-run home run. And the Indians take the lead back from the White Sox. 5-4 late. Hunter Wood off the hook for the loss. That ball had a nice arc on it. It just kept carrying into the night. And just got over the wall.
Now batting, right fielder.
Here's Greg Allen. That misses ball 1. Cishek still hasn't recorded an out of the bullpen. Gave up a single to Domingo Santana, and the go-ahead home run he gave up to Roberto Perez. 2-0's the count on Greg Allen. 2 hits and 3 at-bats. Switch hitter batting from the left side. Off the mound. Played by Garcia, and that's in time. That's a close play at first base. And correction, that was Tim Anderson making that play, but watch this. That was close. With the right call, and that's it for Steve Cishek. Jimmy Cordero will come out of the bullpen, pitching in his 3rd game of 4 that the White Sox have played. And in 4 innings, hasn't given up a run. A note about him, I got to witness, because I broadcasted the White Sox playing in spring training, but Cordero threw an immaculate inning in spring training against the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Well,
Unfortunately, it didn't count for anything because it was in spring training, but it was impressive nonetheless, and won't get a chance to do that here because there's 1 out, and he just threw a ball to Lindor. 1-0 pitch. Counts even 1 ball and 1 strike. The immaculate inning. Statisticians have proven that an immaculate inning is more rare than a perfect game, and that's it against the shift. Francisco Lindor now has 3 hits in this game and has set the table for the Indians to score some insurance runs. The Indians took the lead on a Roberto Perez 2-run home run in this 8th inning. There's Oscar Mercado. Hitless in 4 at-bats. Batting, though, with Francisco Lindor on first base. Jimmy Cordero pitching, and Lindor was breaking on that pitch. But Mercado fouls it back, so Lindor will be forced to go back to first base. 1 run from Cordero. Pitch out.
count is 2-1.
Lindor not going. Counts 2-1. Jace Fry, Kelvin Herrera in the bullpen now for the White Sox. White Sox not wanting to get this inning out of hand. Well, it might have, especially with that swing. Look out, home run porch. Deep into the bleachers and left. Second home run of the inning for the Indians, who now lead 7-4 against the White Sox. Mercado's first of the season extends the Indians' lead. Yeah, nice little exclamation point with a bat flip. 422 feet. Cordero stays in the game, facing Carlos Santana now. Indians have scored 4 runs in this half inning, thanks to 2 two-run home runs. Domingo Santana singled. Roberto Perez hit a home run. 1 out was recorded. Then Francisco Lindor singled. And Oscar Mercado homered. White Sox led to begin this half inning 4-3. And they just got the lead in the top of the 8th inning, too, on a Yoan Moncada solo home run. However, immediately give it up here in the bottom of the 8th inning. And the count now 1-2 on Santana. White Sox haven't lost the game yet in 2020. The Indians are 2-1 on the season. But if the Indians could hold on to this lead in the top of the 9th, they will tie the White Sox for first place in the AL Central with 3-1 record. Still early in the year, but just to keep you updated on where the standings are. Of course, don't forget to tune in sometime after this game. There will be a recap of all the games in Major League Baseball and standing updates for all divisions. So you'll be in the know no matter what. Santana strikes out there. Jimmy Cordero
Now batting, the third baseman,
records the first out of his outing.
Ramirez.
And with 2 outs, Jose Ramirez will come up to bat. You're watching Major League Baseball's virtual network, brought to you by MLB The Show 20. I'm Nicholas Callis. And Ramirez hits it up the middle, but that's where the shift is. But the throw by Anderson pulls Jose Abreu off the bag. And the error is going to go on Anderson with a wild throw. And the inning not over yet, but Cordero off the hook for earned runs now, because if that play would have been made, the inning would have been over. So every run that scores after this will be unearned for Cordero. Strike 1 called. Ramirez back at first safely. Ramirez stole a base earlier in this game, so not a bad idea to keep him honest over there at first. 0-1 pitch. Strike 2. And now an 0-2 count on Franmil Reyes. Cordero's pitch just missed the zone. And now a 1-2 count. Count even, 2 balls and 2 strikes on the outfielder and now designated hitter of the Indians. Here's the 2-2. On the ground right side, played by Abreu. He'll step on the bag himself. That ends the inning. However, the Indians have scored 4 runs in that bottom of the 8th inning, thanks to 2 two-run home runs. Going to the 9th, it's the Indians 7 and the White Sox 4.
Your attention, please. This change for
Delino DeShields,
now playing left field.
who pinch ran for Domingo Santana, will stay in the game and play left field. And Brad Hand
Hand.
who earned a save in his first game pitching in 2020, will pitch here against the White Sox. This is a save situation.
The left fielder, number 74.
And Hand will have the 6, 7, 8 hitters due up for the White Sox. Eloy Jimenez, Nomar Mazara, and Luis Robert all due up. The game was tied at 3 until the 8th inning. Yohan Moncada hit a solo home run in the top of the 8th. That made it 4-3. And then in the bottom of the 8th inning, Domingo Santana singled. Roberto Perez homered. And then with one out, Francisco Lindor singled and Oscar Mercado homered.
1 ball, 2 strikes to count.
The Indians in a position to give the White Sox their first loss of 2020. The White Sox started the year 3-0 after sweeping the Royals. The Indians won 2 of 3 games against the Tigers and are 2-1 to start 2020. This is game 1 of a 3-game series between these two AL Central teams. And Eloy Jimenez strikes out swinging. 1 out, top of the 9th inning.
Up next for the White Sox, the right fielder,
Nomar Mazara is scheduled to bat next. Mazara is 0 for 3. And this is a matchup that will favor Hand on the mound. Lefty on lefty, that's strike 1. Mazara played 4 previous seasons with the Texas Rangers before signing with the White Sox in free agency. Tops out on the ground into the shift played by Lindor, throws to Santana. Now 2 outs here in the top of the 9th inning.
Now batting, the center fielder, Luis Robert.
Luis Robert, the final chance for the White Sox. He is 0 for 2. Reached base once on a walk in the 2nd inning. Facing Brad Hand, the closer. Hand, a former San Diego Padre, traded over here to Cleveland. Was an All-Star last year and was really a fan favorite because the All-Star game was hosted last year here at Progressive Field. 0-1. Hit in the air, and now the White Sox have 1 strike left to work with. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. Game is over. The Indians come back a couple times in this game and win it against the White Sox 7-4. The White Sox fall to 3-1 now, losing their first game of 2020. And meanwhile, the Indians improve to 3-1 and tie the White Sox for the lead in the AL Central after 4 games in the season. Brad Hand there, he earned the save for the Indians. And quite an interesting score line. It's a bunch of 1s for the White Sox, but 1 big 3 and 1 big 4 for the Indians give them the win. Adam Simber pitched 1 scoreless inning out of the bullpen. He gets the win in this game. Steve Cishek gave up the 2-run home run to Roberto Perez, and that was the blow enough to earn him the loss. Brad Hand pitched a scoreless inning, struck out 2, earned the save. Francisco Lindor, the top hitter for the Indians today, went 3 for 4, but had an RBI double in the 2nd inning that contributed to that 3-run effort.
We remind you to please drive home safely.
Quick scoring recap for you. Top of the 1st inning, Yasmani Grandal hit a double. Gave the White Sox an early 1-0 lead that was padded onto, and Lurie Garcia hit a sacrifice fly that scored Eloy Jimenez. That made it 2-0. Then in the bottom of the 2nd inning, the Indians came back, strung together some walks and hits, got the bases loaded. Greg Allen hit a bases-loaded single, and Francisco Lindor hit a bases-loaded double that scored 2. That made it 3-2 at the time. Then in the top of the 3rd, Jose Abreu hit a solo home run. That tied the game at 3. Each team went scoreless up until that 8th inning when Yohan Moncada broke the silence with a solo home run to lead off the 8th inning off Hunter Wood. That made it 4-3. Then in the bottom of the 8th inning, the Indians got a single from Domingo Santana, a home run from Roberto Perez, and then a single from Francisco Lindor and a home run from Oscar Mercado. And that made it 7-4. Brad Hand closed the game out in the top of the 9th. Didn't give up a run and earned the save. You've been watching Major League Baseball's virtual network. I'm Nicholas Callis. Once again, the final score here from Progressive Field. The Cleveland Indians 7 and the Chicago White Sox 4. Don't forget this game was brought to you by MLB The Show 20. Have a great rest of your Monday.